The sun flattened onto the tops of the trees like an egg yolk, spreading a little until the heat rising from the skillet provided the tension to stop it. It wobbled a little and finally gelled. It was not a solid round sunrise, the kind they had as Mr. Proust was going to sleep for the day after a busy night of writing and rat experimentation. How long would it be before she got to sleep through a good solid Parisian sunset like Mr. Proust had? What a bore to have her sunrise compared to an egg yolk, when in centers of culture they got perfect round gold discs to ring in their days. That right there, the quality of sun as it got about its business for the day, told you a lot about the worth of a place. That's from a story in David Vardeman's An Angel of Sodom, which is a book of 13 short stories and one short novel. That short novel is called Angel of Sodom. I've read it twice, and the first time I thought it was one of the funniest stories I ever read. The second time I urged myself to laugh as at a broken egg. But we all know that a broken egg in the wrong time, in the right place, in the right place, in the wrong time, that broken egg can be a heartbreaker. And that's what it was like the second time I read it. I couldn't laugh. I was taking eggs and throwing them up, and they were breaking on the ceiling. I was throwing them on the ground, they were breaking. I threw them hard against the wall. I could not get myself to laugh at a broken egg. I nearly wept. I didn't weep. If I had wept, it would be probably a good blurb on the back of the next version of this book. I wept, Rick Harsh. I didn't weep, but even now I want to weep thinking about that story. That made me laugh so many times the first time through. Vardeman has the quality of bringing to a story of a sort of a collage of ordinaries and voices laden with a collage of cliché, and organizing them so that every single story is filled with surprises, perversions, and hilarity and sadness at the human race. I'm not sure how else to put it, and I didn't rehearse or think about it. I have, well, let me just tell you this. Fur Baby has never sinned. She has the soul of an angel. That's from Fur Baby, one of my favorite stories in here. That's a story about a couple who have a stuffed animal that they call Fur Baby and is treated as if it's real. Their house burns. Well, never mind. I don't want to. I'm not a spoiler, but sometimes you break an egg and it's just already you don't know what is that red thing in there. Is that Fur Baby? It might be. Well, now I've had a year to witness the surprise and sometimes even gratitude of readers of An Angel of Sodom. And so I know that I was right about David Vardeman. I mean, I knew a long time ago, but if I didn't know, I would now. And so I'm very happy to point out that we have a Flipbook, a Vardeman Flipbook. This story here is his latest published work, finished last August. April is the cruelest month, with marvelous opening. Allbelly came into Uncle Milty's around 7 p.m. and said, "Hey, you guys, yesterday Eddie Papoul strangled his crooked-headed mama, and then shot himself in the head in a car at the bottom of Van Vechten Park." So the story takes place mostly in the tavern where Eddie Papoul and his friends used to meet and talk, and they still meet and talk, but Eddie Papoul is no longer there. And mostly they're talking about what happened, and I cannot adequately explain to you the depth of perversity, strangeness, hilarity that Vardeman makes of that situation. This is one of my favorite novels of all time. It's a short novel, but it's one of my favorites of all time. And I've read it twice, and the second time I didn't want to cry. I laughed even more because you are not ready for as many oddities as he arranges for his characters. And the other side of it is a 10-year-old, 11-year-old novel called Suddenly This Summer, which is written from the point of view of librarian and, well, the best comparison I've ever heard is comparing him to Jim Thompson. Although that's a little short of what he does here, I think. The best of Jim Thompson, maybe, a little bit like that, but it's still Vardeman. It's pure Vardeman. When you read Vardeman, you're off into the Vardeman. Anything he's compared to, he is not. He's Vardeman. And in this one, oddly enough, I would call this a proto-feminist or feminist novel of Midwestern murder. We don't know where these stories take place in a lot of cases. Some are Midwestern. Vardeman lives in Portland. He spent some time in Kentucky, so I don't really know where Allbelly and the crooked-headed mama, and I'm covering up this ugly thing because, you know, the artwork here is an abstraction by the same artist, although there are so many possible mama faces that we chose it. So I have these two books. They've been out for quite some time, and people are starting to read them. And I had something really interesting happen last week after I picked up a couple hundred copies of the Cactus Boots, America and the Cult of the Cactus Boots, a diagnostic. I also picked up at the same time the next Vardeman, which is called Letters of Thanks from Hell, a play by David Vardeman. It has this beautiful effect on the cover, same artist. And you know what I wanted to say about Eddie Papoul and them, it reads like a play, a novel that reads like a play. Here you have a play that reads like a novel. This takes place around the time of the Salem witch trials and has some of the same protagonists like Cotton Mather. And I read it 16 years ago, and I asked Vardeman about it, and because it was so powerful, and I said, but I know it's pretty long for a play. He said, no, it's actually not that long, and true, in pocket form, it's only 186 pages, but why it seems so long is because there was so much power in it. And I don't know how to present a play other than to say that as soon as I posted something about this, the same night I got two people contacting me on the Instagram hello message page, and both of them said about the same thing. I gotta get that new Vardeman. I gotta get that new Vardeman. And I was really happy because it means that people are getting Vardeman and understanding Vardeman. And one of them said he was glad it was a play because just something different. I don't know, what would Vardeman do with a play? And it is very different, but it's very Vardeman. And but here, I think by presenting a more realistic landscape in an extraordinarily twisted context, which did exist, he's able to squeeze out of it without adding any perversion, arranging perversion. He's able to make much of the perversion. It's an extraordinary work. And I decided that this is going to be the month of David Vardeman. These are what we have of David Vardeman, and they are each 10 euros. But and that's a reasonable price for a pocketbook. But in August, they're going to be available at 3 for 25. Anybody who has not yet read Vardeman, well, like Neruda said about Cortázar, it's like someone who hasn't eaten peaches, and then he describes the symptoms of scurvy. I think it's like someone who's never had absinthe. Vardeman is the absinthe of our age, and must be read. And so that Corona Samizdat is going to offer these 3 books at 10 euros, 25 euros for 3, and the postage is 9 euros and 27 cents. That's something I can't do anything about. But the goal here is to get more people to understand why some people who've read Vardeman, one of whom, by the way, I got 2 calls. One was our man Noah. He was the second one. And but the other guy, don't have permission to use his name, so I don't know if I should, but he's a great reader. And he said about this, and it's one of maybe 2 books of short stories he's ever read in which he did not find a weak link. No stories that were falling off or anything like that. One of the 2 short stories, I guess he didn't necessarily say it was one of the 2 best he ever read, but it was one of the 2 that was consistently great. And if that's the case, then this cannot fail to excite you. And then when you go to this one, this is the type of book that everybody likes. How can you not? It's a murder mystery of a kind. And then you have this beautiful exposition of a time when some of the strains that persist in the United States still exist. A time when they gathered under the skin and festered long and bubbled up finally and burst. And I think Vardeman can explain that process better than anybody. So I'm Rick Harsch, rick.harsch at gmail.com. Write to me if you want to purchase the Vardemans. or even one Vardeman, but one will be 10 euros, which is fair. Don't be upset with me. This is really a chance to do the best thing that small presses can do, is to deliver to the reading universe an extraordinary writer that might otherwise never have been known. I'm lucky, and readers are lucky, and the readers of David Vardeman are lucky.